Hello everyone, I hope you all are doing good. If you remember, in the last class and before that, we have covered crystal field theory in detail, and today is the time to conclude crystal field theory. So for conclusion, we are going to talk about what are the salient features of crystal field theory and what are their limitations. This will be very easy because we have already done the orbital diagram for the splitting of d orbitals. So let's get started. So let's start with the salient features of CFT. Now, as you can see, I have written most of the important points here. Let's elaborate them. The first thing is it talks about how is the position of the metal and the ligand in a complex. So we know that the metal, the central metal atom or ion is going to be in the center and it is going to be surrounded by the ligands all over, right? The next thing that you should know is the ligands, either they can be neutral or they can be negatively charged, because we know that they have to be nucleophilic, and these two types can be nucleophilic. In neutral, the lone pair can be donated, and in negative charge, you have the anion which can be donated. Okay, so that will be your donor ligands, right? Next thing that you need to remember is, suppose you have more than one electronegative atom, okay, highly electronegative atom close to each other, okay, so the more electronegative most of the time will be pointed towards the central metal atom. So CFT was the one to tell this first. So I repeat, most of the time the more electronegative atom will be the donor, okay, to the central metal atom. Okay, next, when you talk about the metal and the ligand, they behave as a point charge. Okay, and when you talk about CFT, it's talk about more prevalence of ionic bonding in a complex. So it says that in a complex, the metal and ligand will have something called as ionic bonding, or the interaction is purely electrostatic. What does that mean? It means that it says that there is no overlapping between the metal and the ligand. It means it completely rules out the concept of covalent bonding. Remember, it rules out the concept of covalent bonding. As per CFT, the bonding in a complex is ionic or electrostatic. Very important point. Okay, the next, when you talk about this one, we have spoken in detail, we have taken a separate lecture on that. Okay, so that's a complete note that you can write, that is CFT d orbital splitting. So you know that we have taken the splitting for octahedral and tetrahedral complexes, so that is also in the salient features of CFT. So you should remember that initially the metal orbitals are equal in energy, they are degenerate orbitals, but when the ligand approach the metal orbitals, the energy of the d orbital rises, the degeneracy is going to end. It means what? They are going to be equal in energy. They are going to split into your T2G and EG. All right. So this theory, we know that the difference between the energy is 10 dQ or delta naught or delta T. Okay. So whenever you talk about all these things, it comes in this. Okay. So I will attach the link for the same. Do watch that out only specifically for this one, that is splitting of d orbital in octahedral and tetrahedral complexes. Next one, it says that the electron that is filled in T2G or EG will be purely based on the Hund's rule, okay, or strictly based on the Hund's rule. Means what? Initially, if you have a orbital, let's say it is only T2G, still you have to make it half fill, only then you can do pairing, okay, or in EG, first do complete half filling of EG and then only you can do pairing. Okay, so that is nothing but your Hund's rule. Without half filling, you cannot start the pairing of electrons. Okay, next, the stability of the complex as per CFT, it depends upon something called as crystal field stabilization energy. So let's talk in detail about this. Now let's see what is CFSE. Okay, so when you talk about crystal field theory, it is nothing but the total energy that you get by filling the d orbital electrons, right? Next, the magnitude of CFSE, it depends upon, it is quantitative in nature. So you have two things that affect it, okay? That is the nature of the ligand and the geometry of the complex. When you talk about CFSE, it is usually expressed as a negative quantity or it can be equal to 0, right? But if the value of CFSE is 0, then remember that the complex that is formed is going to be unstable. Let's talk about the last part of the video, that is the limitation of CFT. Now, if you talk about CFT, it is indeed one of the most superior theory when it comes to orbital explanation, but it does not explain the interaction of the central metal with the s and p orbital. As you have noticed, most of the time we were talking about the interaction with the d orbital, okay, and at no other places we spoke about s and p orbital. The next thing is, it explains only about the ionic bonding or ionic nature, electrostatic forces between the metal and the ligands. There's no explanation of the pi bonding in the complexes that occurs. Okay, with this respect, you can also say it does not, therefore it cannot explain something called as a partial covalent bonding. As we said, it only explains the ionic nature. Okay, so partial covalent bonding between the metal and the ligand is henceforth not, perfectly explained. In spectrochemical series, if you remember, I said that water is kind of a center where you can distinguish which is the strong field ligand and a weak field ligand. Okay, so water and beyond, okay, if you see, they were all weak field ligand, and above that we said most of them are strong, almost all of them are strong field ligand. But in that series, if you notice that water is a stronger ligand than OH minus, and there was no valid explanation for that. Okay, so hence, because of this limitation, is not a perfect theory for explaining the coordination compound, but yes, it is one of the most superior theory to explain the coordination complexes. See you soon in the next class. Thank you.